Welcome to Cardano Over Coffee. Please remember to join us live on Twitter Spaces Monday through Friday at 2:30 p.m. UTC or 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today we're joined by Adosia, whom are building towards a decentralized future by creating a distributed manufacturing network solution. Don't forget, we'll be in Denver, Colorado, August 24th through the 26th at the Rare Evo event. Get your early bird tickets now at rareevo.io. Yes, crypto is accepted. Use discount code COC10 for 10% off the already discounted prices. Hope you had your caffeine. It's time to get to it.
Our first guest is on stage. Let's give him a emoji, soundboard if you have it, clap clap, tweet if you haven't tweeted out the space yet. We're gonna be
Beep
talking.
boop, beep boop, beep boop.
We'll be talking to Adosia for the next 25 minutes. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing?
Oh, I recognize that voice.
Good morning.
Hey, if you will you get Frog up here, Kyle?
Of course.
I was just scanning to see who else from the team is here. I'm just
Get
looking
on
real
up
quick.
here, Mr. Kyle.
I see Doug
with the Minnesota hat.
We do have a no Santa hat policy, effective February 15th. So he might be bounced at some point. Let's see how long it takes the bouncers to notice. But just so you know.
I still think that's a Minnesota hat.
Everyone. I see News, Big Joe, Epic. Hey, Jenny.
What's up, Chris?
What's
nice
going on?
So glad to have you guys here on a
¿Qué
Tuesday.
pasa?
What a
The gang's
surprise.
all
I
here?
didn't even, I checked the calendar today. I was like, oh yeah, nice surprise.
Good morning.
GM.
Well, let's get into this thing. Who are you guys? Let's give us the short version of who you are and what you did before Cardano for people who may not know.
We are a hugely ambitious project.
You don't say.
It's a bold way to start. I love it. Let's bring the energy.
I'm Chris Hockaday. I'm on the Adosia account here. Kyle down there is basically the lead of the whole project. Caleb's one of our team members. He's down there. He's a designer, printer operator, community leader. Kyle, you kind of want to take over here and give a description on what we're doing?
Yeah. Hey everybody. Thanks for having us. I'm getting out of AML training, so I guess this is kind of cool. So, the Adosia project is, it's a complex project, but the idea is to provide a new kind of economic opportunity, or set a suite of economic opportunities around enabling creators and builders to kind of monetize their services. And to be more specific, on one side, there's a huge emergence of 3D printer operators and a natural decentralization of manufacturing that's been occurring. And so, and kind of looking at that, and how smart contracts work and how smart contracts can work, the Adosia kind of comes to offer 3D printer operators the ability to kind of pick up jobs like a Uber driver, right? In that sense. But on the flip side, you've got designers who are able to contribute to this ecosystem as well, and in a manner such that they can be compensated for the things that they design every time someone else decides to manufacture them. And so there's this market that exists where there's a demand for certain things that you can't find regularly or procure regularly, and there's a bridge in the gap. Not everybody's going to run a 3D printer. So we found what we believe product market fit with 3D printer operators on that side. And so, but to decentralize this whole thing, it's a wild project. And so, you've got all kinds of different things that can go wrong. You need to have reputations. Because you basically, the 3D printer operators are not only responsible for manufacturing, they've also got to fulfill the order. And on the other end, the user, has paid for something, and they should receive what they paid for. And so this concept of kind of bringing all these ecosystems together, it's complex. And so I think we've got 15, 16 smart contracts kind of all working together. At least that's the end phase for the production release MVP. Where we're at right now is we're moving into testnet. And so Adosia.market is coming up now. It's kind of half built. I mean, you guys can check the URL out and yell at us, but functionality is still coming together there. So the smart contract MVP stuff, that's all done. But now we're just kind of tying all the front end together. And once we get that tied together, with about a week and a half after that, we'll announce our incentivized testnet. So once a month, we'll be releasing a new test plan out to the community, along with a procedure that will enable you guys to earn Adosia tokens for helping us basically just break the testnet MVP, identify any bugs, help us define functionality, target functionality for mainnet. Because really, once you don't really want to audit that much work until you've got your target functionality locked down. Otherwise, you're just going to blow your money because you've got to do it again. And so that's kind of the idea. And we're going to incentivize not only printer operators to kind of participate. We're going to incentivize designers to kind of get your designs ready as well. So, and just to be clear, designers, you guys can earn revenue, residual revenue every time something you create is manufactured.
That is super cool. Before we jump into the nitty gritty and the designers and the customers and all the different stakeholders, who's we? Who's the leadership? So there's you, Kyle. Who's behind the account again?
Chris,
Chris.
Liberty Crypto.
Are those the top honchos? Is there anybody else?
Well, I mean, the team it's a similar team to a lot of guys that I work with in the past. Lloyd helps me out with a lot of it.
Yeah, but who's
We've
owning
got
it though? Where does the buck stop? Who's the top 2 or 3 people?
Well, I mean, I take responsibility for, I guess pushing it forward.
And what does Chris do?
Whatever he tells me to do.
Okay, that's great. Well, since the 2 of you are here, both Chris and Kyle, what did you guys do before Cardano?
Well, you've been doing Adosia from before Cardano, haven't you, Kyle?
Yeah. I pivoted. Yeah, I pivoted into Cardano actually. So it was started out as an ad tech initiative.
Ooh.
And it was pretty cool. Yeah, no, so learned a lot there, but then I said, okay, made some revenue, but that industry was kind of consolidating, and it's really hard to.
Was that public or was that B2B when it was before Cardano?
What do you mean?
Was Adosia a product on the market in a different form?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a B2B product, but essentially, what I built was like a widget that showed ads, and it kind of targeted how web UXs were just starting to kind of change in the 2000s to go from pagination to kind of infinite scroll.
Oh.
So I built an ad widget. Yeah, I built an ad widget that would hover a little bit, or basically hover and basically get viewability metrics, and then kind of scroll away after certain times, and just basically optimize ad revenue in a sense. And I didn't really have to sell the space. I had partnerships with Google and AOL and OpenX and all the exchanges from the demand side. So I just went and got pub deals, and it was good business for a while. It was kind of easy money, but I had to pivot out of it. And so then I got into IoT, and just, it got to the point where I realized can do a whole lot more with the team, and I think we're getting into product market fit where we are now. So it's just Adosia's really been kind of like a business vehicle name, and it's actually named after a wolf. A wolf. His name was Adosia. He was my buddy.
Neat. What about you, Chris? What you do before Cardano?
All sorts of stuff. I was an automation mechanic for Pepsi for quite a while. I've always been doing have my hands in something involved with electronics or electronic repair. I used to do a lot of instrument work, built guitars, guitar pedals, guitar amps, repaired all that same kind of gear, stuff like that.
Cool. So now we're doing the Doja on Cardano is a crazy project. It's bringing together. So who are the people here? There is people who own 3D printers, right? Who wants to monetize that? And then there are people who can just provide designs. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then there are consumers who might want that, or businesses who might want the output of those two things.
Is this just for 3D printing, or are you guys like looking to tag this into just regular manufacturing eventually?
Well, there's all kinds of different things you can do. It's not just 3D printing. There's engraving and different applications, and then there's multi-phase manufacturing. And so there's definitely a path to a wider, I would say, market appeal. But initially, the target interface is geared towards 3D printing, and that's kind of how we're supporting. But it's not. The back end is. I think it's important to say the back end can support whatever it can support, but the front end, anybody can come and build a front end on this, and the back end is decentralized. So you guys don't need anything from Adosia. If you guys want to go build your own front end and provide a service in an area that really needs a certain type of service, you're more than welcome to do that. And that was kind of part of the design coming out the gate with this.
Super cool.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. We had to solve some very, very dope problems. We had a concurrency issue with minting that we solved ourselves. And we had an interesting discussion with IOG around that, and we were surprised that we were kind of being guided towards batching and so for scenarios, because we have two issues of concurrency, and Quinn just knocked one of them right out of the park with some really sophisticated engineering, and out of discussions with IOG, Andrew, his wheels are turning about how to really potentially even solve this at protocol level and things like that. So it's interesting discussions have come from the problems we're trying to solve there. It's pretty cool project, and it's been a little frustrating too coming along because being dependent on CSL and it not always being where it needs to be as we need to run, but those are challenges.
What's up, Blackjack?
Hey guys. Hey Kyle. So I have some questions surrounding it. There was a recent report that was out surrounding 3D printing, and that it's one of the top 5 emerging markets coming up here. So basically laying the groundwork for letting people know, hey, this might be a secondary source of income maybe, or even potentially a primary source of income for individuals, right? And you guys seem to be building to that effect so that you can facilitate these people and actually access their 3D printers and create a product, right? Is that kind of a decent assessment?
Well, I think what we're trying to really do is just build a platform for creators to enable kind of what you're talking about, right? We want to be able to create a platform where there are a lot of designs that people want to manufacture. And if we can do that right, then there'll be a lot of work for 3D printer operators. And if there's a lot of work there, then it can be a revenue stream for those 3D printer operators. But that's the goal. We're looking to enable just peer-to-peer economic opportunity. So
right. And so the problem I see is that, because if you work within a decentralized nature, a lot of times there aren't strict controls over things. And if you do create partnerships with people and they do deliver a product, quality control is going to be a bit of an issue. And I'm curious as to how you guys plan on tackling that.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. So, like, for example, if I were to do, okay, let's say like I'm trying to raise some revenue before, we're decentralized because we've got bills to pay and, we've got teams to pay and that kind of stuff. And I want to go and do like, excuse me, give me one sec.
Guilds was one thing we were working on, one concept there, and basically have decentralized organizations of individuals who kind of would handle.
Yeah. It's basically kind of like guilds is the concept of that. But yeah, like if we were gonna, sorry guys, if I were gonna run like a sale for a client to raise revenue, you need quality control. So if you would have something to the level of guilds where you've got to tie in reputations with that. And Quinn can talk a lot more about that. He's got some smart contracts. I don't know what he's got open around there, but there has been a lot of thought around that. And so, but you've got to tie it back to reputations in that regard. So like, for example, if I were going to service customers, I would have printer operators that have been accepted to what's called the Adosia Guild or whatever. And you guys could all have your own guilds and that kind of stuff. And then back to your comments, like, yeah, you can't really control what people do submit to the smart contract, but as a centralized front end, we've got to comply with laws in that regard. So we do have the ability to kind of like, if someone's showing, gun parts that aren't supposed to be able to be displayed or procured by certain people and certain individuals, we've got to abide by our laws. But just because the front end has to abide by their local laws, that doesn't mean that anybody can't come and use the back end.
Right, that makes sense. And standardization will be key, obviously. And if you put rules in place for those who are working within a decentralized network, and you have those guilds that are managing themselves, then obviously you've created quite a good network, I would imagine. So good luck with everything you guys got going, and look forward to seeing what you guys have in the future here.
Thanks, Blockjog.
Cool. So I was telling the crowd about the video that Trevor and Alyssa were making the other day. So what was that about? Like, does that have to do with the NFT drop you guys did, which I missed out on it, by the way? I know that they received like a whole package and they put together and that they used their Adosia. I just kind of try to follow, but if you can just give us a rundown on how that worked. Are you familiar with what I'm saying or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think Chris knows more about it than I do.
Yeah.
But I know that, yeah, Chris can probably talk more to it.
I thought I was rugging for a second there. Yeah, so basically they did an unboxing. So what they showed on their show was, if you go, I'll pin a link up top here so everybody can see it, but you could pick up one of the Rocket NFTs and then you could choose whether or not you had it actually printed. So we have mint and print. So you can mint and then choose whether or not you want to have it printed. So basically what they had was one of the printed NFTs. So they have the NFT and they have the physical product there. And
so do you have to choose when you were minting if you were going to just mint an NFT or if you're going to mint and print?
It's a 2-stage kind of thing. So you mint first, and if you want to print, it's kind of like a second process, but it's all there on the same page. But
that's cool. Was that like a little proof of concept you guys did, just to kind of showcase and use Adosia tokens and all that?
Yeah, the rockets themselves and all the parts were designed by. There's a couple of guys on the team who actually worked for SpaceX, and they designed all that stuff. And it was refined through several of the printer operators on the team or whatever over the last year. But it's basically a little model rocket with, a handful of parts, and you can assemble it. You can have all kinds of different, nose cones and bodies and flames and fins and doors and windows and stuff like that. It's pretty neat.
It was pretty neat. I was saying that it looked like a jumbo with little parts and stuff. Super cool. So you say you have you're inviting us. So how can we participate in Adosia? Since I know that we can be the consumers, we can also be um the manufacturers, or we could also be, what else is the other part? Oh, designers, right?
Yep,
So
and that's a pretty cool aspect too, because you don't necessarily have to have any equipment at all, other than your skills with, your design software. But you could come in, and I'll use Randy as an example. I have a million times, but Randy Frog Dog, he's got some really cool things that he's designed over the last several years, because he's got a network of 3D printers right there at his own place, and he manufactures these battery holders and tool holders. So essentially, if you have a little battery powered drill or whatever, he's got a thing you can mount on your workbench, and your tool plugs right into it, just for storage. But he could put those in the marketplace and never manufacture a single one of them and get a royalty on it every time somebody else manufactures it. And so the way the network would work geographically is, if the designer can be, say New York City, and the person who's buying it could be in Guyana. Well, if the person buying it's in Guyana, basically they would look on the network and say, okay, well, here's some printer operators in this the consumer's general area, and they can it'll go to a pool, and then they would choose, basically bid on it, who's gonna manufacture this part for the consumer. And so it would be, more closely local to the person buying it, and it would reduce the shipping time and expense there for the manufacturer. And so a lot of little facets like that to go into it.
cool. Let's see what Newt has to say. What's up, Newt?
Hey, what's going on? Love Adosia, also noted as one of the earliest fungible tokens in the history of Cardano, minted on March 2nd, 2021. So it's been a great project to see come along. And I kind of wade into 3D printing stuff on Reddit, paying attention to cool things people do. I've noticed there's a lot of kind of negative sentiment among 3D printers for people who basically steal their designs, print them out, and then sell them on eBay, kind of thing. Like some dude ripped off this guy's file, like line by line, the whole thing. And so I'm curious to know what kind of like standards for licensing and copyright or Creative Commons you guys have been thinking about over the course of this project, for people who maybe want to make it clear in the metadata about the specific uses of these things, or for maybe designers who say, like, if you buy this NFT, then you have the rights to that particular design and royalties, smart contracts, and stuff like that. I'm curious to know where you guys have been thinking in that regard.
That was actually a topic of discussion very recently. I think one of the things we were thinking about there was, if for a designer, if you're going to upload a design to the marketplace, if it's open license, Creative Commons license, that needs to be in the metadata, obviously. And if there's any like blatant abuse of that, it kind of goes back to the guilds and the quality control and the reputation systems and stuff like that. It's kind of like eBay, I guess, is one good example and one analogy we use quite a bit, trying to hone in on what makes the most sense. And, if there's a known actor in the system, there's even another part of this is too a possibility of even using collateral. So somebody, has, they put their money where their mouth is, and they're doing nefarious activities that could come back to haunt them. Kind of like veracity bonds, Charles was talking about recently with media and all that. Not a very dissimilar concept, I suppose. But yeah, a rating system, a reputation system, stuff like that to guard against, poor quality and, I guess hijacking other people's IP.
I just realized it's 10:25. I can't believe it's been 25 minutes and we have a second guest. I would like for you guys to come back and probably schedule to back because you have so much that we can ask about. I mean, we didn't talk about the token and how does it work. So I want to make sure that you get to put the message out there that you want, any call to action. We have Big Joe and Block Dog also with their hands up, but I want to make sure that you give us a good call to action. What are you looking for right now? What do you want us, to know? And if you anything that you want to say, and then I'll let the two hands speak and wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much for having us come on. The ITN incentivized testnet phase will be starting very soon. Lath has been making some pretty exponential progress there with the MVP part of the marketplace. So that'll be going live soon. So maybe we can come back on right before or right after we go live with the ITN.
Sounds great. What's up, Big Joe?
Could I 3D print one of my body parts in case I need extra?
Yes.
You want some titanium?
You can sell your body parts for other people to print and make money when they do.
We got you, Joe.
Adosia has you covered. What's up, Black Dog?
Well, I'm trying to recover from laughing because I knew Joe was going to come up with something really good. I can't even be serious now. I honestly, I wish you guys to come back so we can talk about this further. Obviously, there's a lot of things. Nudes brought up something very good surrounding making sure. I like the idea. Wing Riders is using, when you do a proposal and you feel very good about it, then you actually put some skin in the game and there's some collateral that needs to be provided, and then it's then given back to you at the end of the process. And this way it would prevent quite a bit of, so there's already precedent there surrounding that, and would keep people from doing that or copying that, because in a decentralized network, and you put that stuff out there, then it's out there, and anybody can then grab it line by line and copy it and then start trading it like they were doing on Amazon, so that's going to be a toughie for sure. So something along those lines. It's not necessarily, slashing per se, but it's definitely something to, keep everybody in line for sure. But,
I think there needs to be collateral in the system to in a lot of degrees. I'm not sure where exactly Quinn landed on that exactly, but I do know. So we're kicking off separate meetings too, specific just to governance, because it's a weird situation. Like who handles it when there's a dispute, right? When things don't go well. And so that's got to be managed in a decentralized way, and we've got to figure that out. I think that, I would be less likely to act like a butthead if I had a chance of losing some collateral. So I totally agree with you there.
Exactly. I think the guilds would be the best way to go about that, because they're working with those individuals at a closer level. And then they would actually have a bank or whatever you want to call it that then would qualify the guy, and then they would put up the collateral, especially if it's somebody new that doesn't have a lot of money going into it, but yet they're really good at what they do. So that would be probably a way to approach it potentially. I'm not sure.
That's an interesting concept, like a guild approach, but governance at a guild level.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you guys for coming. I miss talking to you. Stop by more often, even to chit chat. We're here Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, guys, I can't translate that to other time zones, so I stick to my Eastern. Thanks for coming. And nice seeing you, Chris, even though I do see your face. You're in the crowd. That's great.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Darlington. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
For sure. Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to Cardano Over Coffee. We'd like to thank our guest, Adosia. We'll be in Denver, Colorado for the Rare Evo event on August 24th through 26th. Tickets are on sale now at rareevo.io. Use coupon code COC10 for 10% off. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the land grab giveaway for one Clayverse plot by sharing one of our videos on Twitter. Make sure that you tag Cardano over coffee.